exactly. So in the co-main, which I'm sure Dominic and I have beat the dead horse plenty, talking about how we don't think it should have been. You have Clay Guida and Mark Madsen. Super weird because I just want to call him Mark Madsen. That I don't know why we're putting in the O for his middle name. Like it'd be like to call me Harrison E. Madden. Like don't do that. That's annoying. But like, and there's not another Mark Madsen that fights in the UFC, so it's totally unnecessary. But you got Mark Madsen here. The minus, it was varying. I think when they walked in the cage, Clay Guida was plus 150. Marco Madsen was minus 175. In different places, you could have got that number a little lower, a little higher. So a little bit of fluctuation there. But big thing here was that this was like a stylistic matchup of Clay Guida, who, I mean, if you've watched the UFC, you know who he is. The dude has literally fought forever in the UFC. But yeah, it was a matchup thing where Marco Madsen's this Greco-Roman silver medalist wrestler from the 2016 Olympics, so still very close to that. Now, granted, he's 37 or 38 years of age, so he in his mindset had talked about how this was like his run. Like he was going to put together a run, and it starts here, and it's going to keep going. So what I thought was interesting was that the style of the matchup made not a lot of sense to me because neither one of these guys was gonna get like a flashy finish. It was gonna have to be like a grinder's war in this fight. And
Yes.
I don't think that was a good sell for the co-main event either. Because I'm not saying the fight was boring, but at times Madsen wasn't doing a whole lot of offensive action that was unrelated to just pressuring and grappling.
Yeah, and this fight was a fight where I feel like the one championship and the UFC model may have
May
yielded a
have
different
differed, yeah,
result
for
for
sure.
sure. Because round by round, you know, I do see how you end up giving it to Madsen.
I
But it
think
was
round
weird.
one's the only clear round. Would you agree with that? Rounds two and three are pretty debatable.
Let me see here. Ye-
Two was real close.
Yeah. No, I'm not mad at that. So I think it was just weird, right? So whenever you think of an Olympic wrestler, you think that they're gonna win by either position or. And it was weird that essentially Mark Madsen's best weapon of the entire fight was his jab, which I guess you could say is a credit to him. I think maybe this is fights on us for our mind's eye and trying to envision of how this fight was going to look, because it just looked
Yeah,
nothing like I think any of us thought it was going to look,
that
right? I
was.
mean,
It's exactly what I was talking about. Was like the perception of like these fight styles together. You thought like, oh, this would be great, and then like it didn't really come to fruition that way.
I'll say Clay Guida fought like Clay Guida. He just
Yeah,
whipped too much. He
yeah.
just, if a few more of those strikes land, I mean, I think Clay Guida wins.
It was like Madsen was afraid to follow in combination when he threw too. Like he would just pump the jab, like a double
Yeah,
jab, a single jab. It
but
would
that's
never
how you
come
would
with the
expect a very limited striker, right? I mean, he's been striking for how many years? I mean, less than 3 or 4, right? I mean,
right. Well, and then for Guida, I mean, he's a pretty good wrestler, but what's weird when I say that is that obviously Madsen's a more decorated wrestler, but the guy's a Greco-Roman wrestler, so
yeah,
it's like he's going to be all wasting up. So for Guida, I thought he would attack the legs a lot more.
yeah. Clay Guida, it's one of those things where I could question his game plan and approach, but at the same time, he's there for a brawl. He's there to throw big lefts and rights, and he wasn't going to try. Obviously, wrestling is a big part of Clay Guida's game as well, but I probably would have been foolish to try to like shoot a bunch of double legs on an Olympic wrestler. So,
Yeah, and
I
like you're gonna get
he
tossed once or twice doing something like that.
so yeah, like it's hard for me to fault him. I just like I said, I think it really falls down to I think that Madsen's boxing was just as rudimentary as it was. It was very effective, and I'm including the defense because
That's really where it was more effective was
it,
that
it,
he never
I'm,
got out of
he's
position.
he's no Floyd Mayweather, but I mean, like I said, Clay Guida was throwing a lot of shots, and very few of them were landing. Now,
And when they did
you
land, they weren't clean either.
yeah, no, so he showed some like I said. If we're talking about Olympic wrestler and his ability to defensive box and pump the jab, I mean, it's kind of impressive. It just didn't look impressive to like the casual eye, I guess is a good way to describe it. Like this fight was not exciting, but in a way, maybe it should be, because like if a guy who's one of the best grapplers in the division like came out and won a fight using his jab and his head movement, I mean, maybe that we should be higher on that than we are. I don't know. Like it's a hard
Well,
sell.
funny enough, too, Clay Guida did an excellent job of exploiting the leg kicks. Like,
Yeah.
he was eating
Yeah,
Madsen's
Madsen
legs
was not ready
up.
for that. Like he was like, "Yeah, this is MMA, motherfucker. Like, get ready to have some
Right.
shit ate up." Yeah, no, that was a real factor. So I actually, yeah, I gave round two to Guida. I gave round one to Madsen. Round one, Madsen has the clinch knees. He took the center. Like I said, in round one, Guida was whiffing real bad. You had round one for Madsen?
Yeah, I thought it was the most clear-cut round. I was like, all
Okay.
right, like Mark Madsen is like winning the exchanges here and seems very comfortable in the distance control too. Like, he was doing a good job to like maintain where he wanted the fight to be taking
Which is
place
like
at.
pretty impressive for like a wrestler. You know what I'm
Especially
saying?
against a guy like Clay Guida,
Yeah,
that's a veteran
yeah,
guy, like has a lot of
yeah.
experience, knows little
This is kind of
tricks.
how we want to spin this. You know what I'm saying? And then round two, did you have it for Guida?
So I did, yeah. I thought then now striking numbers in that were 25 for Madsen and 24 for Guida, but I thought Guida was way more impactful with his landed strikes than Madsen was.
Well, and the ability for Guida to make that adjustment and avoid the clinch.
Right.
He managed to keep it at like boxing range for almost the entire
And I think the
second
leg
round.
kicks helped with that, to be quite
Yeah,
honest. I think it
no,
started to
that
slow down Madsen's approach and his entry.
great point. So we had it tied up 19-19 going into the third. Now round three was just the definition of Madsen's jab, and then just Clay Guida in round three was just super ineffective, right? Like just the shit but he never stopped fighting and he never stopped bringing the action. I I mean he fought. It was a competitive match, but I just in round three, I in my mind's eye, what stands out is just the Madsen jab was just incredibly effective. I think more effective than any of us, including Madsen, probably could have even dreamed.
So oddly enough, I scored it round three to Madsen, exact same reason. His jab was just enough to maintain the range control and do enough damage to Guida to where he outdamaged the damage that he received. Right?
Yeah,
What's super
100%.
interesting to me about it, though, is that when we actually get to the scorecards, one judge scores every round for Madsen.
Which
One
I think is
judge,
out of line. I
yeah,
think it
I don't see
really
how you
is.
give him 2 and 3. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous. I see
yeah,
one, but 2 and 3 are kind of flips. Like, I think you need to flip flop. But one judge gives Madsen rounds 1 and 2 and gives Guida 3. And I'm like, well, if you give Clay Guida
yeah,
3, you got
yeah.
to give him 2.
If anything, give Madsen 1 and 2.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
and then,
No.
uh,
If anything, 1 and 3. I'm
one
sorry.
and three,
Right.
1 and 3, right.
Yeah, one and
And
three. I'm
then,
sorry.
and then the final judge, who actually had it for Guida, scored 2 and 3 to Guida, which at least is consistent in round 1 to Madsen.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, it was a competitive fight. It was a weird one. It was a weird one where I looked down at the end of it and I was like surprised at my own scorecard. Does that make
Right.
sense? Like
Right.
I came out of it feeling like Clay Guida, like I don't want to say he won, but I thought he had a chance. Like whenever it went to the decision, and Marco Madsen admitted this. They asked him, like they always ask in a close decision or a controversial decision. They asked him, like going into that decision, how confident were you? He was like, "Oh, not at all. Like that could have gone either way." So,
Yeah, he was
and
like, I'm
that's
just honored to
exactly
share the octagon with Clay.
that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Like I don't feel like this is a hill to die on or a robbery, but I
No.
did not feel like there was like any of us knew who won that, and it could have gone either way.
Well, every judge had a completely different scorecard. And I think that just shows,
It shows, yes.
I mean, it shows, one, how close this fight was, and
All,
two, how hard it was to score based on the
all,
styles.
our scorecards were the same once again, though, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think
yeah,
tonight we've had like almost identical scorecards. Only
yeah,
two
yeah.
rounds I think we've split up on.
But it's so Mark Madsen. We were talking about earlier on like the guys not trying to slow roll their careers. He's 38, obviously coming over after a decorating wrestling career. He is undefeated. Now, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's some cans in there, but he's undefeated, including in the UFC. And now he has a finish and he has a decision victory over Clay Guida, a unanimous decision. No, it wasn't. It was a split decision, but still. So he definitely is trying to bite off not more than he can chew, but he's trying to move up quickly. He called out
Gregor
uh,
Gillespie.
Gregor Gillespie. Not a bad call out. I mean, I don't know what Gregor Gillespie like does for his like.
Well, he's
As
ranked number 10, so it's really just
oh,
about
he
trying
is
to. Yeah.
okay. I'll
So
be real. I
and
didn't know Gregor Gillespie was ranked number 10. I didn't know that.
yeah, and so check this out because I want to ask you this because Pichel called for Gillespie, and so did Madsen, which I
But
thought was funny.
Pichel, see, I don't think Pichel should even get that credit. Pichel made a future call out. He's like, I know I'm not going to get him next fight, but one of these days, like to me, that's not how you call somebody out. You get zero
No,
credit for that.
I totally agree with that, but just listen to numbers 10 through 15 of light heavyweight or of lightweight because here's what I want to put is really interesting. Number 9 is Conor McGregor. So 10 and down is going
What
to
a
be
world
great.
we live in.
I know, crazy. So Gregor Gillespie's 10, Kevin Lee is 11, Diego Ferreira is 12, Brad Riddell is 13, Fiziev is now 14. He just slid in this week, and then Sarukian is 15. I don't know who. Madsen's not beating any of those guys,
I don't think so.
and neither is Pichel.
I don't think so.
You know what I mean? Like, and then
So
if you wanted to say
say it
like,
one more time.
okay, so 10 is Gillespie, who they both called out, and I'm
We're
like,
gonna pick the weakest link from this list.
right, and I have who I think they should fight, but so Gregor Gillespie, Kevin Lee, Diego
Kevin Lee
Ferreira,
fights next weekend.
yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yes.
That'll be interesting. Good timing for like the placement too. If he loses, that's interesting to see if because
Open
he'd
up
fall
the
to the
spot.
back of the 15. Yeah, that'd be interesting. But so Diego Ferreira at 12, Brad Riddell at 13, Fiziev at 14, Sarukian at 15. You don't make them fight Sarukian or Fiziev, in my opinion, because those two guys you're building, and those two guys have extremely cool skill sets. That fuck, if they fought each other, that'd be sick.
That'd
Actually,
be sick.
that'd be sick. I think for me, it's Brad Riddell. It's a kickboxer. It's the New Zealand guy. He has the ties to like Izzy and those guys, but like that's probably your most fun matchup because there's an actual path to victory for Madsen there.
Yeah, and it seems like Dana White's on board with this fucking shoveling coal in the train. I don't know. I didn't come away blown away from Madsen, but in a way,
Me
maybe I
either.
should have. Maybe I should be. Maybe I should be. Maybe the wrestler with the outstanding jab. Maybe that's a tough puzzle to solve. Maybe that's maybe that can beat anybody on any given night. But you're right. It wasn't just super impressive and super dominant. It wasn't. I would have
Right.
rather have seen him on top of him fucking doing this. I mean, maybe that's my brain assuming, but how do you interpret the Olympic wrestler that wins a fight with a jab? Like so does that mean, can that jab be effective against a high level kickboxer like Riddell? You think probably not. So then we have to go to, can his Greco wrestling translate to top 15 UFC victory? And that's a whole nother can of worms. So yeah,
Right.
you're
And
right.
it's a weird can too with him being a Greco-Roman guy. Like if it's a freestyle wrestler, it's so much more like commonplace wrestling as far as MMA. Because Greco doesn't really happen in mixed martial arts. There's too much activity with the
The
legs to be
closest
ignored.
thing to a Greco is essentially a clinch, right? I mean, it's upper
Yeah.
body.
No, yeah,
Like,
it's clinch and body
and then
locks.
you're probably better served with a Muay Thai background, or like, yeah, you're right. The body lock though, guys can be super effective with body locks, and that can
The
be. I mean, his
that's
squeeze is different. That he did display that. Like when you saw Mark Madsen's back when he got that body
right.
lock, that's the back of a man with a lifetime of wrestling, and you can't go to any weight room and get that kind of strength. So, I mean, he's going to have some advantages in some certain positions, but and like I said, in the jab, it's like, are we looking at like an Usman, like the fucking southpaw jab Usman that just like proves to be super effective? I mean, that's like obviously an extreme example, but like I don't know, I didn't get that vibe, but I don't know, especially his age, his inexperience in the sport. I'm not gonna go and predict a meteoric ride for Mark Madsen, even though they're trying to build him on this co-main.
That's what they want to do, but man, it's tough for me. It's really tough for me.
I feel it, man. And so, yeah, Madsen gets the victory at minus 155 favorite. Clay Guida, fought valiantly as he always does. I'm sure get some fishing in and cash that check and be just happy.